The market's at the lowest point of the day, and that's the eerie feeling as we get to the last 10 minutes. Mayuresh Joshi is also joining us for the closing chat, as is Sudarshan Sokani, who's back with us. Mayuresh, markets closing at the lowest point of the day. Do you think that this is going to trigger more sell orders and perhaps more sell triggers in the market?
Afternoon, Lata. I think the combination of weak corporate earnings, the RBI commentary, everything is probably well documented. To add to that, if one assumes that the monsoon is not as per expectations, if it turns out that way in the next couple of months, I think that is playing havoc and taunt onto the markets, coupled with international factors. So I think there is every possibility that the markets might head lower. And again, I think the technical breach of 8,000 has happened. But again, I think this gives an opportunity for long-term investors to actually keep their shopping bags ready. So I think qualitative stocks, companies with decent earnings growth expected over the next couple of years, I think this is the right time to start chipping into a market. Though I think not too aggressively. I think you have to slowly and steadily start nibbling into it.
All right. Sudarshan and Mayuresh, thank you very much for patiently waiting by. Sudarshan, ending at the lowest point of the day, as it were. Once again, what would be the levels for tomorrow that you would watch out for?
Well, tomorrow we could see some kind of an attempt to go to 8,000. That is always possible. Intraday movements have their own, theory. Sometimes it's not easy to catch them. A much bigger story is that this market is going down and we should be on the short side of the market. So any rally, so far that it is below 8,200, 8,250. I think that level should now be brought to 8,200. So far as we are below that, we should only be looking to sell.
All right, then. And that 7750 also looks like a legitimate support level for you, the levels that we were discussing?
No, now below 8,000 the markets can stop anywhere as many times as they like. I wouldn't identify a support at all.
All right, then let's get Mayuresh into this conversation. Mayuresh, you've seen a big correction. The Bank Nifty is down close to around 3,800 points, if I'm not mistaken. We have the Nifty as well struggling. Anything you like? Will you look at IT stocks? Will you look at FMCG, some of those heavyweight stocks like an ITC? It's looking at a lot of stocks. In fact, they're around 30, 40, 50% off their 52-week highs. Anything you like from the Nifty pack at least?
Oh, yes, Nigel. And again, I think if I talk about sectors, I think private financials is something that I would now keep a close eye for. I think the market correction, and if it corrects further, stocks like an Axis Bank, Yes Bank give good entry opportunities. But again, I think the point I'm making is that you have to have a very slow and steady investment, not being aggressive. Again, on the IT pack, I think the correction has been so steep. And looking at the kind of cross-currency growth, both in terms of revenue as well as an EPS growth, I think we're quite optimistic on the top tier names. So if it's HCL Tech or an TCS or an Infosys, I think the valuations are pretty attractive. And the kind of trends that we are probably witnessing from the US markets in terms of consumer discretionary demand coming back, I think these stocks can show good amount of traction over the next couple of years. So IT, selective private financials, as I was mentioning, a couple of the pharma names. So from the large cap names, Sun Pharma, after the deep correction that we've seen, I think it poses a very good opportunity for long-term investors to actually start nibbling into that account.
Mayuresh, below 7965, what is your dealing room telling you? Can we get margin calls, and will that become a technical factor pulling down markets even further?
But again, I think that is a possibility. As I was mentioning earlier, below 8,000, I think the shorts on the technical side open up, and Sudarshan is more equipped on that front. But again, as my guys tell me, I think there is every possibility for the markets heading lower. Again, I think where it will stop or where will you find the bottom, I think very difficult to say, because I think a lot of factors that a lot of participants talk about are well documented and known to the markets. Now, one of these factors have to turn extremely horrible. So if the rains do not appear at all, or they turn to be much lower than the long-term averages, the corporate earnings in Q1 turn out to be a disaster as Q4, and again something goes horribly wrong with the Greek resolution, I think you might see the markets heading anywhere lower, even below 7,500. But I think all these sharp and deep corrections give opportunities to enter qualitative stocks. So if you have a staggered approach of entering the markets over the next couple of months, 3 months, A, you're reducing your impact cost, and B, I think you're getting better entry points into the market over the longer horizon.
All right, Sudarshan, I was just looking at some data from the times we hit the all-time highs. That was in early March, and I was looking at a couple of stocks. It's Bharti Airtel as well as Idea. Now, Bharti didn't crack today, but Idea, in fact, saw a sharp correction. Both those two stocks were outperformers in that correction. What's your take on Idea? Where exactly do you see some kind of buying coming in? It's at around that 167 rupee mark.
Well, some buying should come around 150, but ideas, charts have now deteriorated, and they are looking almost as bad as the Nifty.
Okay. Well, besides the Nifty, which would be the individual candidates that you would go out and short, Sudarshan, or would you just rest content doing that with the Nifty?
No, the Nifty and the Bank Nifty are both candidates to go short. And for the Nifty, it's far easier to focus on the banks, the private sector, public sector banks, because in the Nifty itself, the other candidates for shorting are IT and pharma stocks, and that's not a good idea usually to short an individual stock.
All right. Fair point, Sudarshan and Mayuresh. Thank you very much for joining us and taking us through the last few minutes of trading and some advice for tomorrow as